So hi everybody. If you could just write in the chat that you can hear me and that you're here. So again, an idea who's out there. And if you can't hear me, let me know, just so that I know that the webinar is working okay. Great. Oh, great. Got the microphone turned on this time. Great. Brilliant. So thank you everybody for coming and joining me tonight on this webinar, Ayahuasca, a Higher Intelligence. I chose to do this webinar on ayahuasca because now more than ever, there is so much information about ayahuasca. There are so many articles about ayahuasca. There is so much media coverage about ayahuasca. And I feel that there's no one expert on ayahuasca. I think that you can't be an expert on ayahuasca. You can only experience ayahuasca and have your personal experience with her, because everyone is going to have a different experience with ayahuasca, with the medicine, with the plant, and everyone is going to have their own personal journey with her. So this webinar is purely from my own personal experience with the medicine, with ayahuasca, and what I have personally experienced from her, by her. And I'd like to share that with you. My experience with ayahuasca is different, I would say, to most people that I've met, in that when I arrived to the Amazon, I had no idea what to expect. And I found my shaman, my teacher, who called to me in a vision while I was working in Machu Picchu, and told me to find him. And I found him and I took the plant medicine alongside other plant medicines. It wasn't just ayahuasca, though he was an ayahuasca shaman, but I need to say very clearly here that actually I didn't take the traditional ayahuasca brew of chacruna or wambisa, but in the Amazon then at that time it was chacruna. I actually was with a Tuwe shaman, Brugmancia shaman. He worked solely with Tuwe. There was no chacruna in the part of the Amazon that he lived in, that we lived in. And so he was a master Tuwe shaman. And I didn't realize that until 2014 when I drank the chacruna leaves and the wambisa. It was a mix of Banisteropsis caapi, chacruna, and wambisa, that I actually experienced the DMT in that form for the first time. So the first time I took ayahuasca was in 1998 in May with my teacher. And the first time I actually took the brew that most people are drinking was in 2014. So for 14 years, I just drank Tuwe. And so my experience, I believe, with this plant medicine is very different to what most people have experienced. I don't think anyone has gone on a Tuwe dieta or has done Tuwe to the extent that I did it. And having not realized it for that many years, I've kept very silent about my experience as I've tried to work out and understand the depths that the Tuwe, the Brugmancia, took me to. And it's taken many, many, many years to be able to now do these webinars and share my experience with you. 20 years almost, 19 years. And this is because this plant medicine is enormous, immense, beyond our understanding of what we could possibly know. And what I'm seeing is that most people are just experiencing the tip of a very enormous, huge, ginormous iceberg. And when people take ayahuasca, they're only really experiencing the very noticeable part of it, the top part of it, the tip of it. And hidden underneath are so many depths to this medicine, so many layers to this medicine, so much power to this medicine. And what I'm seeing and hearing and seeing what's being written is this very limited perspective of ayahuasca, this very limited understanding of ayahuasca. And I'm seeing that people are not really understanding or even accessing some of those deep depths that ayahuasca can take us to, that this medicine can take us to. So this webinar is to share with you my experiences with Tawai, to explain why I feel it is a higher intelligence and why she is starting to weave her way across the world, and waking us up as she weaves and vines her way across the world. Unfortunately, excuse me, unfortunately, what I'm seeing at the moment is that more and more people are, more and more people are taking the medicine and not getting the benefits that ayahuasca can give. They're only getting the tip of the iceberg benefits, and they're not really realizing the deeper aspects of this medicine, the deeper understanding of this medicine. And so what I'd like to share with you is what I think the depths of ayahuasca really can give us. And from that, hopefully give you a clearer understanding, if you've taken it or if you're looking to take it, what you can gain from taking it. So what I'm seeing is that a lot of people at the moment are using it to get some idea of purpose, of why they're here, or to get some healing. Or I'm even seeing people unsure of making a decision and taking ayahuasca in the hope that they will get the clarity. But ayahuasca doesn't work like that. In traditional ayahuasca shamanism, ayahuasca was always a diagnostic tool. So ayahuasca would diagnose for the shaman what medicine the patient needed in order to get well. And so she, in her own way, is the mother of all medicines, knowing which medicine is best for the patient. However, she has the abilities to connect with our DNA, to connect with the very cellular depths of who we are, and awaken us back to an understanding that we are all connected to this incredible web of life, and that we are part of the ecosystem, not apart from it. And this is her medicine. Her medicine is to awaken us to that realization. Her medicine is to awaken us to remembering that we are one with everything, that everything is inside of us, that Mother Earth is inside of us, that we are Mother Earth and she is us, that there is no separation. So the real true medicine of ayahuasca as a higher intelligence is to waken us up to that remembering that we've forgotten. And how we've forgotten that is because we have been strengthening our ego, the I, and the importance of the I, and how we can fulfill and sustain the I. And in so doing, we have lost touch and have forgotten that our actions have a direct effect on every living thing on this planet. As stewards and guardians of this planet, our actions have a huge impact on every living thing on this planet, which is why the Hopi have a process where if they make any decision, they see how it affects 7 generations down. So they don't make a decision that's going to endanger any of 7 generations down in order to sustain and maintain a healthy, vital ecosystem for all animals and living things that rely on this living on a healthy planet for their own survival, as well as for our survival, as well as for human survival. And we've reached a place in our consciousness where we are consuming now to a point of destruction and huge, enormous environmental crisis. And we all know and can see it and can feel it on the very depth levels. But like any addict that is aware of their addiction, they still can't stop. And unfortunately, this is where we are with the humanity. We are aware of the environmental issues. We are aware of how our actions are affecting the planet and living things. And we're in the fastest sixth extinction. But the addict doesn't know how to stop. The addict doesn't know how to stop. And we're addicted to feeding our egos. We're addicted to feeding our needs and our wants and our desires, regardless of how it is affecting the other living things living on this planet with us. And what ayahuasca does is that she enables us to wake up from this dream, this matrix of fantasy that we are able to consume whatever we want and do whatever we want and abuse the planet however we want, and reminds us and wakes us up to that realization that we are one with it all, that we are one with this web of life. And it is such a liberation to wake up to this realization, because suddenly we stop the dis-ease within. And when we stop the dis-ease within, then we can start becoming the cure rather than continuing with the disease. We stop the addiction of the ego. We stop the addiction of needing to fulfill our own sense of self, and realize that everything we do is in benefit, is in service to humanity and to all living things. We change from consuming to being of service, and immediately we become one and start being of service. We stop the dis-ease and start becoming the cure. And I feel that is ayahuasca's most powerful medicine to us. And what I'm seeing is that many people are drinking ayahuasca for their own ego satiations. They're drinking it because they want a baby, or they're drinking it because they need to find out what job they need to do, or they need to find out their purpose. They're doing it for an ego reason. And so ayahuasca's pure, real message is not filtering through into the consciousness. And that is why I'm seeing so many people going back for a retreat and ceremony after ceremony and drinking, but not actually realizing the true message of ayahuasca. It seems almost that they're not drinking responsibly. It has become its own addiction in its own way, because it's going to make you feel better. After you've drunk ayahuasca and you've gone through a night of huge visioning, and this is with Chacruna, I understand the power of the visuals, the power of what you see, and that feeling of connection and that feeling of purging out some of the darkness. You come round and you feel so much better. And so we become addicted to feeling better without actually making the changes. And having worked with Taway, having had my teacher plant as Taway, as Brugmansia, you don't feel like that, because Taway doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't make you feel purged. You feel like you've been taken into the very depths of hell and having to really face the deep, dark shadow sides of ourselves, not only of our own karmic conditionings, but the conditionings of society, the conditionings of parents, the conditionings of education, the social conditionings. And when Taway takes you into the very, very, very darkness, so there's no release, it's just a continuous battering of the medicine, slowly cleaning you from the inside out, slowly cleaning you out from all of that. There's nothing enjoyable about it. And what I'm seeing is that people are going to ayahuasca, to Chacruna ceremonies with Chacruna, and it's enjoyable. It's celebratory. And I'm not saying that ayahuasca isn't, of course it is, but it's hard work to get there. And so a lot of people are not really getting that full power of the ayahuasca, and they're not really getting that full powerful dose that's going to take them beyond the ego, to an understanding of service, to an understanding of who they are in this great web of life. And it's the purpose is to serve in the best way that you know how. That we're all looking for a purpose, for a reason to be here, but just by being here is your purpose. And ayahuasca cannot give you a specific person. She is a higher intelligence coming down to wake us up, to remember, and we are one with everything on this planet. We are one with all living things. And your purpose is by just being here and being part of this web of life. So the purpose needs to come from your own work, from what makes you happy, from doing what you love and loving what you do. Then your purpose becomes clearer. Then you get a clear understanding of what you need to do. But ayahuasca isn't here to give you your purpose. Ayahuasca isn't here to help you find your partner. Ayahuasca isn't here to help you make that decision whether you should take that job or not. Ayahuasca is here to wake you up so you can be part of the cure. You can be part of the change. You can start, you change your value systems. You change your behavior to become part of the cure, to part of the solution. You become part of the solution just by your own nature, just by your own being on this planet, just by being an imaginal cell. And I've talked about this before, and I'm going to mention it here for those of you who haven't heard, but actually, we need to look to the humble caterpillar for what's happening on the planet right now. And we're consuming 3 times what our natural resources can maintain for us. And this is exactly like the caterpillar that starts consuming 3 times its body weight. And by consuming 3 times its body weight, it goes to crisis. And from that crisis, imaginal cells start appearing in the body of the caterpillar. Imaginal cells, and that's what they're called by the evolutionary biologists, start imagining a new vision for the caterpillar. And the caterpillar goes into the chrysalis, and what happens is that these imaginal cells take over the body of the caterpillar, and it metamorphoses into the butterfly. And the last thing to go is the caterpillar's head until it transforms into the butterfly. And this is what we're needing. We're needing a conscious evolutionary shift of values, of awakening to remembering that we are one with this planet. We are one with this ecosystem. We are one with Mother Earth. We are one with this planet and all living things on it. And ayahuasca is one of the triggers that's helping imaginal cells wake up. There's many other triggers for imaginal cells to wake up. I believe, certainly for me personally, ayahuasca was my trigger to wake up and remind me that I was an imaginal cell, that the power is in me. I can't change out there. We can't change the huge, complex problems that we're facing on this planet right now. It's almost overwhelming, the complexity of the problems that are facing humanity and our planet right now. But what I can change is myself. And that's where I have the power. And I believe that ayahuasca as a higher intelligence is reminding us of that inner power, reminds us to shift our ego perspective from me to we. It changes our story from the I to the team, that we are part of one, and that if I change, I am just one of thousands of imaginal cells that can change. And us imaginal cells, each one of us, each one of you that's out there, if we all change, we can inspire other people to change, and that will inspire other people to change. And a ripple will go across the world as more imaginal cells start awakening and realizing that things can be different by just changing their own personal behavior. Now, I feel that's the only thing we can do. And ayahuasca, that's what ayahuasca is doing, is that she's come out of the Amazon. She's come out of her hiding place in order to wake us up and become imaginal cells. And anyone who has drunk ayahuasca and is not waking up and changing their behavior and changing the way that they serve on the planet and they serve humanity is not drinking responsibly, is not drinking ayahuasca in the right way, is using it as an addiction to feel better. And ayahuasca is not here to make us feel better. She is here to wake us up to this realization. So this is a really powerful medicine, a really powerful, and one that needs to be taken with utmost respect. And one of the sad things I'm seeing is the availability of ayahuasca at the moment that's available. It's becoming, it's more and more easier to find. And the problem with that is that when it's difficult, when it's underground, at the very beginning of her journey into the Europe, it became a magical thing to find ayahuasca. You would get the calling. It would suddenly come to you in a magical way, and you would go on a journey of exploration until you found a ceremony, and then you would sit, and it would be a very powerful thing. But now it's so you can phone up someone and go to a ceremony the next day without having done the proper dieta, without having done the proper preparation for the ayahuasca, for the medicine. And this, I feel, is very disrespectful for the plant, because it's not giving people the true power, the true message, the true medicine of this plant. And if people are going, having not done the right dieta, having not done the right preparation, just doing it because someone told them that they had done it, or it's become in vogue, or they've read something somewhere, then it's not a soul calling. And there's a lot of people at the moment, they don't know whether they do it, they need to do it because it's a calling and that they need the medicine, or whether they've heard so much about it now that they think they should do it. And this is a big problem for ayahuasca, because she is a medicine and she is not for everybody. A medicine is taken when you're sick. You don't just take medicine for the sake of taking medicine unless you're addicted. And there are many people who are addicted to medicine. It's not that far out. And there are many people who are addicted to ayahuasca. But she is a medicine for the people that most need her, for the people that most need to awaken to this thing. To ayahuasca hears your soul calling, just like the shaman heard my soul calling on top of that mountain in Machu Picchu, and comes into your life to give you the medicine that you need at that time. So if you're thinking about taking ayahuasca, this is you really need to go into deep meditation and see whether she is really calling you, whether this is something that a medicine that's going to really benefit you, or whether you're just doing it to try it out. And there's nothing to stop you from trying out ayahuasca, but her medicine will not work to the depths that it can if you're really needing healing. If you're really being called and you really need that healing, then ayahuasca is a really powerful plant medicine to wake us up consciously, to help us in the next steps of our conscious evolution by reminding us who we are, by reminding us that we are guardians and stewards of this beautiful planet Earth, and that our duty is to sustain and maintain a planet for future generations. And our future generations are going to look back on us right now, on our generations, and they're either going to bless us or curse us for the actions that we're taking right now. And we all feel this on the deepest soul level. Anyone with children is feeling this on the deepest soul level, because we're running out of water to keep for our future generations. For the next generation down, there may be no more clean water on this planet to drink. So this is an opportunity to use ayahuasca to wake us up out of the ego addiction, to wake us up out of the slumber, the matrix that we're so caught up in, and utilize what we are, the power within the heart-based medicine, to change our behavior and become one with the planet once more, and to realize our unique duty, and then to serve in the best way that we know how. It's really it's a powerful medicine for that. And so I really urge you, if you're thinking of doing it, is to do it with people who understand this power of ayahuasca, who understand the depths that you can go to of healing, because you can do it if you want to be a psychonaut, if you want to go and traverse. And I'm seeing a lot of that, because it takes you out into the multi-dimensional spaces and you get to see loads of amazing things. But so what? Actually, so what? This planet is in crisis. So what if you get great visions? It's so not about the visions in ayahuasca. We are so needing like this ego thing. Oh, I got this vision and I got that vision and this happened to me. So what? How are you changing in the 3-dimensional? That's what I want to see. How are you actually changing your behavior in your everyday life? How is your relationship with your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your friends, your family? Because if that hasn't changed, if there's still anger and mess and drama in your life, then you haven't made the changes. Then, oh yes, lovely visions, but in reality, the medicine hasn't worked. Because in reality, the medicine is here for us to change our behavior. So anyone who is drinking and coming out, oh, I've drunk 80 cups of ayahuasca, as though it's some medal, as though it's some trophy that they've drunk so much ayahuasca, it makes me see that they're not drinking medicine. They're just going on some psychonautic vision and, and exploring the territories. And that's not the medicine of ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a higher intelligence. She's a powerful intelligence. She's an important intelligence to wake us up. And it's an insult to her medicine to just go on and on and on about the visions and how connected, and not make the changes, not do the work, not actually get out there and be the change that she's so desperately needing us to be, because we're destroying her habitat as well. We're destroying all the plant habitat that the plants rely on to be in a healthy ecosystem. And who's speaking on behalf of the plants? Not many people. And so ayahuasca is here desperately to wake us up so that she can sustain herself, so that she can speak on behalf of all the plant medicines, so that all the plant medicines, and the plants that keep us healthy can have a vibrant planet and a vibrant ecosystem to live in. This is why ayahuasca is coming out of her hiding place in the Amazon. This is why she's coming out to help us drink. And anyone who's needing to drink hundreds of cups of ayahuasca and not making the change is addicted to ayahuasca, is addicted to the visions, to the feeling good, to the purging, not doing the work. And the work isn't in the ceremony. The work is after the ceremony. The work happens when you're in your 3-dimensional life and your mother, father, someone's pissing you off, someone's upset you, someone has annoyed you. You have the choice between, hurting the environment, buying organic products, working with sustainable products, buying fair trade. This is the choices that we have. It's not the ceremony. It's not taking the medicine. It's what happens afterwards. And the thing with ayahuasca is you take a course of ayahuasca, take a 5 or 10, drinks of ayahuasca, and then stop. And let that ayahuasca integrate in the body and integrate and dissolve in the body. This constant need to keep on drinking, it doesn't work like that. When I came back from the Amazon in 1998, I said to the shaman in my heart, call me back when I'm ready to come back. I will come back when you call me and not before. But he'd called me once, I knew he was going to call me again. In 2003, I was invited to an ayahuasca ceremony in England. And I went and I saw the shaman and I saw his medicine. And I heard the ayahuasca speak with me. And the ayahuasca said to me, why would you drink with this shaman when you have already drunk with a master shaman? Why do you need any more ayahuasca? You have been given exactly what you need in order to change. You don't need to take any more medicine. You just need to do the work. You need to remain true to the medicine that the ayahuasca, that the shaman gave you, the tuay, and wait until the shaman calls you back in order to take the next load of brew. And it will be the right time. And it took 9 years for me to go back. So for 9 years, I didn't drink. I let the ayahuasca slowly digest in my system. And then I went back in 2007 and I drank again with my teacher, with one of my vines that I'd planted in 1998. And again, I said, I will go back when I'm called. And I returned after 4 years this time, in 2011. And then I got a very strong message to bring my mother the year after with a group. And in 2012, I went back. And I brought my mother. And that's when the medicine said to me that I had finished my apprenticeship and told me I had to come back for another few months and work more with the medicine and train again for another 2.5 months to get very, very clear, to reignite. And I did. I went back and I did another stint in the Amazon with my teachers. And then I went back in 2014. And then I went back in 2015. And then I went back in 2016. And now I'm going back this year. And what I've noticed on this long journey of ayahuasca, these 19 years, is that I took a lot of medicine in the 3.5 months I was with the shaman. And it took 9 years to digest, for that medicine to filter all the way through into my DNA, into my cellular structure, into who I am. And then I could go back and get the next set of messages, of understandings, of learnings. And then went back in 2011, where I had one of the most powerful journeys ever. And where so much changed at that point. And so it's a lifelong journey, this medicine. And too many people want instantaneous results. They want to drink the medicine and suddenly get their cancer cleared, or have this addiction cleared, or have this, automatically cleared, or suddenly had their whole life sorted. But ayahuasca doesn't work like that. She's not a magic pill. She's not a magic brew that you just drink and suddenly your life's sorted. Not at all. She's a plant medicine. She needs to digest. She needs to work in. She's a higher intelligence, and it takes her time. Just like anything in nature takes time. An acorn doesn't become an oak in 10 years. It takes hundreds of years for the acorn to become the oak. It takes hours for a flower to open up. Nature takes her time. And what I'm seeing is too much impatience. Oh, it didn't work, so I'll take another ceremony. Oh, I didn't get what I wanted. I'll take another ceremony. Without awareness of trusting that medicine, of drinking it and then taking a break and letting that medicine digest, and slowly over time seeing the changes. And I couldn't have known in 1998 the power of the medicine that I do now, because now more than ever do I feel connected with this medicine. Do I more than ever now feel the power of her? 20 years later, I now feel that she is part of me and I'm part of her. And it's becoming clearer that I can even do these webinars 20 years later and actually feel the clarity to do it. Because right now, this is how long it has taken. Right now is the time. 20 years, 19 years. So anyone who's taken ayahuasca, it takes time. Nature takes her time. And anyone who wants to commit to the path of medicine, it's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey of commitment to the medicine. Whatever comes up, whatever it brings up. And in each moment we make the choice. We make the choice from our egos, or we make the choice from our hearts. And over time, if you keep on making choices from your heart, it will become easier. And that's what ayahuasca does as a higher intelligence, is she gets us in tune with our hearts. She reminds us and she shows us what the difference is between our hearts and our heads and our egos. And from this place can we make the decisions. And that's what we start seeing when we start working with the medicine properly. We start seeing that our behavior naturally starts changing. We start seeing that our understanding and our value systems around the planet starts naturally changing. We no longer want to eat non-organic food. We no longer want to put chemicals on our skin. We no longer want to do something that's going to destroy the environment. Because we understand that we're not, by anything, our actions that are destroying the environment, we're killing ourselves. And that is the power of ayahuasca. That is the power of this medicine. And when we take it with an indigenous person, with someone who was trained for most of their life, and they sing the Icaros, these Icaros are designed to purge out the conditionings. These Icaros are designed to release you of your shadow, to release you of that ego connection. The Icaros are designed to unravel the ego so you can start hearing the heart. And anyone who has been in an ayahuasca ceremony and hasn't heard the Icaros, because the Icaros aren't about joyful singing. It's not a guitar and a nice song. Icaros are designed to help the ayahuasca draw up all the impurities that are within you, emotionally, consciously, mentally, physically. That's the power of the Icaros. And when you sit in a traditional ceremony in complete darkness, and you take a dose, a cup of the medicine in complete silence, in complete darkness, where you can't see anybody or anything, and the sound of the Icaros starts echoing around the maloka. You can feel the ayahuasca twirling and swirling in your stomach. You can feel her awakening within you like a snake. And you feel her working her way up, drawing all the impurities and all the toxins and all the conditionings that are stopping you from being yourself, enabling you to vomit or shit it out in a very powerful, in a very healing process. And this is the proper way to do ayahuasca. In complete silence, in complete darkness, going into your own self, journeying deep with the ayahuasca so that her medicine can take full potency. I'm seeing too many distractions with rapé. There is a lot of ceremonies, a lot of rapé going on. Rapé, for those of you who don't know, is tobacco snuff. You don't need rapé in an ayahuasca ceremony. Ayahuasca is her own medicine. In the Peruvian Amazon, they never used rapé. And if you're in a ceremony and you feel really nauseous and you can't vomit, that is because the ayahuasca is working on drawing it up. And you need patience. And you need to sit there in that uncomfortableness, in that pain, and allow the ayahuasca to heal you through it. And when we take rapé during ceremony, you don't enable the ayahuasca to do her work. You interrupt. Because the deeper you can go without any distractions, just sitting in the darkness with the Icaros and allowing the ayahuasca to work by herself, that's the power. That's the power of the medicine. Don't need anything else. She on her own is the power. Doesn't need any help. Doesn't need any support. So what's happening is that we want to have it to make things easier, to distract us from what's really happening. I'd also like to mention a bit about entities. Because when I took with the ayahuasca with my teacher, when I took Taway with my teacher, we never, ever, ever, ever talked about entities, never. His message was, may you be clean within. May this ayahuasca clean your body, clean your mind, clean your soul. And we need to start taking ownership of our own darkness. And it's almost too easy to blame it on some entity or other. Oh, this is my entity and that's my entity. To me, that's another ego game. Own our darkness. Own your darkness. It's not to say there aren't people with entities, but most of them are in prison. Most people who are taking ayahuasca don't have entities. They just have some dark shadow that they need to deal with. And there's this too much attention and too much energy on these entities. But the reality of it is that we're living in a very, very fucked up planet. Or humans are very, very fucked up in their consciousness, maybe. Let's call it that. And so, of course, there's going to be some darkness coming up. How can there not be? But to blame it on an entity, to blame it on something that isn't yours, takes the responsibility out of your hands. So it's taking personal responsibility for your own healing, for your own cleanliness, for your own inner demons, for your own inner demons, for the demons that you've been brought up with, not the entities that come in from whatever. That's not to say that some people do have them. Some people do, but it's so rare. Personally, I have drunk with many people, countless, and I've never seen an entity in any of the people that have drunk with me. Why is that? Because people have to own their darkness, and they own it, and they go through it, and they get empowered because they've worked through their own darkness. And this is where the power comes when we accept and acknowledge our own conditioning and our own darkness. When we acknowledge it and understand it. And then we can purge it and we're free of it. But when we place it on an entity, we give our power away. And so it's really important to understand that that's what ayahuasca does. She shines the light in the darkest parts of our unconscious, in the dusty cellars of our souls. She shines a light in the murkiest parts of our souls so we can reignite our spark of creativity, of life, so we can live again, so we can be one with nature again. And in order to do that, she has to remove the layers of dust that have piled onto this sacred light that burns deep in our souls. And so it is uncomfortable. And it does feel horrible. And that's the point. And so when I took 2A and I didn't have the visions, didn't have the DMT visions, because 2A isn't DMT, it's a whole nother medicine altogether. It just took me into the darkness. It shone the light on the darkest parts of the cellar within me, of my soul, of my conditioning, of my ego, of my anger, of my hatred towards myself. And then I came back and I had to live it by being me. And it was terrifying and empowering at the same time. And this is not an easy path. The path of consciousness is not an easy path. It's not an easy path because we have to break down all the belief systems that we have ever been given about ourselves. We have to stop all the conditionings and change our perspective and come from a heart-based perspective rather than an ego-based perspective. And this is incredibly challenging, but at the same time, it's the road to liberation. It's the road to pure freedom. Because once we understand that the power is within us, once we understand we're one with Mother Earth, once we understand that we're one with this amazing, fantastic, magical ecosystem, once we start flowing with the natural rhythms of life, we can start recognizing when it becomes choppy, the river, the sea. We can start working out what we need to do next by what's coming up. Life becomes a dance rather than a struggle. And that's not to say that struggles can't come up. Of course they come up. But we learn to dance in that struggle. We learn to enjoy the blessings that are coming up within the burdens. We understand that everything on this planet is a duality. And however dark you might be is how light you are. And however light you may be is how dark you are. And I was so insulted because the shaman told me I was the dirtiest person he had ever met. And I used to vomit for hours and hours. The deepest, darkest wretches. Just from the depths of my soul, I vomited. But when I came out, Don Juanito and I would always have a little giggle because I had survived it and I was alive. And for me, that was the celebration after every ceremony, that I had made it through. And that is the power of ayahuasca. It takes us to that edge. It's the higher intelligence that takes us to that edge so that we can recognize and realize that. It's just a powerful, powerful plant medicine and an important part of who we are. So I'm just wondering if anyone has any questions about what I've been talking about. If you'd like to write your questions on the chat box, and so I can answer any questions that you might have about this, what I've been talking about, or about ayahuasca. Anything that you're interested in, please let me know. Please start writing your questions in the chat box. So the ayahuasca is the tué. For those of you who don't know, is a leaf, and it has a trumpet. It's also known as devil's trumpet. And devil's trumpet is seen everywhere. It grows all over the Amazon. There's even a really big tree in Lima. And you never take the flower. You only take the leaf. And you don't need many leaves. You need maybe just a few, very few leaves to get the medicine of tué. Whereas with chacruna, you obviously take a lot of you use a lot of chacruna in order to make the brew. And so tué is a very powerful medicine with the leaves, and anyone who is taking it with the flower in it, creates a madness in you. It creates a sense of craziness, and you do see people who have taken Brugmansia tué without supervised a proper master shaman, tué shaman, and it can make you go mad. And that's why whenever I came out of the ceremony, I always just felt so relieved to feel my bottom on the ground and that I had survived. And I took that tué 3 times a week for about 3.5 months. So you can imagine the intensity of the journeys that I took, and why it has taken so long to understand and receive the full medicine of this powerful plant. It's because I had a short, sharp shock of taking it so much, and then had to spend many years working out what it all meant. And so anyone who's had quite a lot of ayahuasca, it's reconnecting to the plant. She's already in you. She's already in you. She's a part of who you are. And you just need to connect in with her. She is in your cellular structure. She is in your DNA. And so she's there to help you whenever you need her, and you just need to call on her. So if you have drunk ayahuasca, she doesn't go away. She stays in your system forever. So you can always tap into her intelligence, recognizing that she is a plant medicine of the highest consciousness and can guide you through the time. So I have a couple of questions here. Does the shaman also take ayahuasca while holding the ceremony for you and your group? I'd like to know this in regards to native ceremonies as well as those practiced in the West. I don't know any. I've only drunk once in the West. I've that's all I drink in the Amazon, and of course the shaman takes ayahuasca. When I take my groups, I drink ayahuasca. You have to drink the ayahuasca. It's really important because the ayahuasca is your guide to what's happening with everybody. So you don't take a full cup, though you could take half a cup. The ayahuasca works differently when you're facilitating, when you're holding ceremony, because you drink the ayahuasca, and the ayahuasca communes with everybody who's drunk ayahuasca. Without taking the ayahuasca, you don't have that understanding of what's going on. And what I found from my own experience is that if I don't drink enough ayahuasca, then I'm not fully connected in with everybody in the room. And when I drink, and so for me, getting the dosage right is really important. There have been times when I've drunk a bit too much ayahuasca, and I've had to go through that sense of being in the ceremony and holding the ceremony. And it's been a very powerful process. And I found that I did some of my best work working with directly and letting go. So I found that when I didn't take enough ayahuasca, then the ego or the shoulda, coulda, wouldas can much more easily come in. Whereas when you drink ayahuasca and you just get that right amount or a little bit more, you find that it's the ayahuasca that's just guiding you fully. Your ego just shuts down and you can fully be of service to the people who are drinking the ayahuasca. I only drink with 8 people. That's my 8 to 10 is my maximum. And 8 to 10 is my maximum, so I can be fully on call if anyone needs me, and it's a one-to-one process with everyone who's in the room. And 10 is enough for me. 8 to 10 is enough for me. Usually 8 maximum, so that the ayahuasca, I'm completely connected in with everyone at all times. So at all times throughout the ceremony, I am aware of everybody in the room and what they're needing and where they're going through with the ayahuasca. Any more of that, I can't. I don't have the capacity to connect with everybody in that way. So 8 for me, 8 up to 10 is sufficient for me to be able to fully engage with everybody with the ayahuasca. And I do feel a golden filament really connected in with everybody, and the ayahuasca communicates with me what everybody needs in that moment. And I've seen real magic, and anyone who's drunk with me in my ceremonies will tell you that it's really amazing how the medicine works, how I know where I need to be in the right moment at the right time, doing the right thing for the person. Any more of that, and people are not getting the right support and help that they need. So they're very deep healing processes, and because of this thing, people can really go deep and really clear out some very deep darknesses. I think the safer you feel, the more protected you feel, the more you know that someone's going to be there if you're in trouble, the deeper you can go. And when you're feeling vulnerable and you're not 100% sure, you don't go as deep as you can. And I think that is a shame, because the ayahuasca is not a plant. The vine takes 8 years to grow. It's a vine that it's a big sustainability issue going on right now in the Amazon, especially because of the climate change, and lots of the chakras are getting flooded. And so it's a medicine that if you just take it once and it gives you what you need to wake up, you shouldn't need to take it anymore. Actually, if you've gone off and done a course or done a retreat, that should be enough for you to then be able to make the changes that you need to get the answers that you need. And if you keep on still needing to take it more and more, you still haven't got it, then you're not going deep enough. And what we can do in the Amazon is that we go super deep, and that's because they're very small ceremonies and done in the right way. So how does the benefits of taking DMT in relation to a full ayahuasca ceremony? Totally different. It's like taking coca leaves and snorting cocaine. I mean, it's totally different. You are drinking ayahuasca. It is a brew that you've brewed up. You drink that brew. That brew is Banisteropsis caapi and chacruna, or That's the traditional brew. Those two plants create the the um, the chemical process in your body, and it takes 4 to 6 hours for the brew to and the medicine to work to open up and to start purging you of the conditionings and toxins. DMT is the crystallized extract from the leaf of the chacruna plant or whatever it's used in. So it doesn't even contain the Banisteropsis caapi, which is the vine. It's just the chacruna leaf, and it's taken and the DMT is extracted from it into crystal form and put into a pipe, and then you smoke it. So you're getting a 5-10 minute journey or experience with DMT that blows your brain into different dimensions. But it's not going deep into your cellular level. It's not going deep into your digestive system. It's not changing your DNA. So ayahuasca as a higher medicine can change your DNA, can shift your cellular structure, can really completely change you as a person. But DMT doesn't do that. And if taken a lot, I've seen people with a lot of holes blown in their aura, because DMT is naturally produced in our bodies. In fact, DMT is naturally produced by, I think, all living things on this planet. And we naturally produce it. But when we're born and we get birth through the birth canal and our skulls get squeezed into the birth canal, it's said that the first shot of DMT is released into the brain with that pressure on the skull, because obviously the skull is still very soft, as it squeezes through the birth canal. So it shoots that first shot of DMT, and that last 7 minutes of brain activity as the rest of the body is dead is again the DMT taking us into another life. So when we take the DMT and we smoke it, we have a very big, powerful process. But again, if you're not making the changes in your 3-dimensional life, then it's just an experience. It's just an experience. It's not changing your behavior. And ayahuasca is here for us to change our behavior. It's here for us to change who we are so that we can maintain and sustain a planet for future generations. Is it dangerous to have steroid nasal spray or any kind of antibiotics for ayahuasca? Yes, steroids not good, and antibiotics also not good. You need to come to the plant medicines really, really clean. The cleaner the body, the more the medicine can work. It doesn't mix with quite a few medicines, and that's because of the MAO inhibitors and various other aspects of the medicine. So and certainly with antidepressants it doesn't work. And so if you're serious about taking ayahuasca, it is really important that you check what medicines do and do not work with ayahuasca, which is very readily available on the internet. For that as well. So does anyone have any other questions that they'd like to ask? Okay, so thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for joining me on this webinar. I am taking a group into the Amazon in November. It's a 10-day ayahuasca retreat in the Peruvian Amazon. Like I've mentioned before, it's 4 ayahuasca ceremonies and 1 cacao ceremony. If you're interested in coming, I only take 8 people. We sit with an indigenous shaman. We sing traditional icaros, and we immerse ourselves deep into the Amazon. And it's a wake-up call for those who really do want to wake up. I take serious people that are really ready to shift consciousness and wake up to be the change. And there's more information on the link. I urge you, if you're interested, to find out more and to come along. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to take people to the Amazon to drink ayahuasca, because who knows what's going to happen on the planet next. Well, we can fly and experience the ayahuasca in her pristine habitat in the Amazon. I think everyone needs to see the Amazon. I think everyone needs to experience this amazing place in nature, to wake up quicker, because when we see this place and we recognize how powerful the Garden of Eden is, we realize that we want to sustain and maintain it. And it's much harder when you drink ayahuasca in an urban city and an urban concrete jungle to get that realization. Whereas when you're immersed in the Amazon and you're immersed in the bosom of Mother Earth, you really do get to recognize and understand the power of the medicine and come back changed. And this is the power that ayahuasca has, and this is the power and the importance that I like to work with when I work with her, so that people get the full immersion, which is why I don't do ayahuasca ceremonies here in the UK, and I have never done ayahuasca ceremonies here in the UK, because I don't think that it honors the full power of the medicine and the full intelligence of the medicine. And when it's taken in the Amazon with indigenous shamans deep in the bosom of Mother Earth, where she's born and where her home is, you really have to wake up. There is no distractions. And so if you're interested in experiencing that, please do go for more information and for a booking form. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming and joining me. My next webinar will be on cannabis and CBD and the power of cannabis, medicine for the masses. As most people know, I'm a real cannabis aficionado, and I'm looking forward to sharing my wisdom and understanding and to answer your questions on the power of cannabis. And I will be mostly looking at CBD and THC and the medicinal side of cannabis. And later on down the line, in a few months, I'll be looking at hemp specifically. So the next webinar in 2 weeks' time will be on cannabis medicine for the masses. Please look out for that. Auto subscribe from this webinar, and I look forward for you joining me then. Thank you again for coming and joining me for this webinar, and I look forward to joining you for you joining me on the next one. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of the week. Take care and lots of love.